There was a forgiveness study that was done in Stanford. There was a book on it written, but it was a book that popularized this social science study. But they looked at forgiveness and the impacts that forgiveness has. And they used several case studies. One of them was people in Ireland who had been victims of terrorism by the IRA. So Protestants who had been victims of terrorism. And what they found is that people that actually learn to forgive, and largely that's a Christian impetus. There's some type of Christian desire, because Christianity tells you to love those who hate you, to forgive your enemies, turn the other cheek. Those are very high things, and they're Quranic as well. But in Christianity, it's supposed to be an obligation. In Islam, it's a choice. You can either redress it through justice or forgive. So what they found is that forgiveness had 3 stages in order for it to be a complete forgiveness. The first stage was they actually had to pardon the people to forgive them. And then the second stage was they actually had to desire good for them, like pray for them or something like that. And then the third stage was they actually had to do something good to them to complete it. So it wasn't enough just to forgive, like I forgive them. No, it was actually to forgive them and then to desire good for them. Like in your heart, you actually want good to come to them, not bad or harm. And then the third stage was you actually did something good to them. Now, if you look in the verses of Qur'an that deal with this, they follow that pattern. And this was a study done on a wide group of people. And they found consistently that these were the necessary stages. If you look in the verse in the Qur'an when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالْكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظِ, those who suppress their anger, وَالْعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ, and those who forgive others, who pardon others. So the first stage is that suppressing your own negative feelings towards the person, وَالْعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ, and then actually displaying that generosity to them by telling them, I forgive you, that pardoning. وَاللَّهُ يُحِبُّ الْمُحْسِنِينَ, and Allah loves those who do good to others. And there's a famous story of Ja'far al-Sadiq radiyallahu anhu when he had a servant who spilt some hot water on him. And he started to get angry, and the servant said, وَالْقَاضِي مِنَ الْغَيْبِ, because these people knew like Sheikh Abdullah bin Bayya, his servant, he has ijazah in Qur'an. Really? So he said, كَظَمْتُ غَيْظِي, I've suppressed my anger. And then the servant said, وَالْعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ, and those who forgive. He said, عَفَوْتُ عَنْكَ, I forgive you. And then he said, وَاللَّهُ يُحِبُّ الْمُحْسِنِينَ, and Allah loves those who do good. He said, أَنْتَ حُرْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ, you're free for the sake of God. So he freed him. So that process is indicated here when Allah says, that if you were hard and hard-hearted, in other words, when people mistreat you, had you been harsh and hard-hearted to them, they would turn away from you. So what does Allah tell the Prophet when they mistreat you? Forgive them, pardon them. فَعْفُ عَنْهُمْ وَاسْتَغْفِرْ لَهُم, ask forgiveness, desire good for them. And then وَشَاوِرْهُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ, ask their advice. I mean, how's that going to make somebody feel? It's going to make them feel good, important. He doesn't need their advice. Prophet ﷺ doesn't need their advice. He's got Jibreel's advice. He's got the advice of Rabb al-Alameen. But that asking the advice is empowering people, making them feel part of something. And then Allah says, فَإِذَا عَزَمْتَ, but once you've decided to do something, فَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ, trust in God. Once you've set out to do something, trust in God. إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ الْمُتَوَكِّلِينَ, Allah loves those who trust Him. And then وَإِنْ يَنْصُرْكُمْ اللَّهُ فَلَا غَالِبَ, if you give victory to God, no one can conquer you. There's no ghaliba. Nobody can conquer you. If you give victory to God, if you help God, Nobody can conquer you. وَإِن يَخْذُلْكُمْ But if Allah forsakes you, فَمَنْ ذَا الَّذِي يَنْصُرُكُمْ مِنْ بَعْدِهِ Who can help you after that? If God forsakes you. So we forget that one of the tajalli of God is khidlan. God gives tawfiq, He gives people success, but He also withholds their success. There's a forsakenness. And that forsakenness comes when you forsake Allah. Because Allah has mu'amala bil mithal with His people. If you give victory to God, God gives victory to you. If you turn away from God, God turns away from